My name is Alain Regnier. Again, sorry for my voice. I hope everybody can hear me. A few words about myself first. My name is Alain Regnier, Alto Labs on Twitter. I'm a CTO for a small company in Paris. I spent 10 years in Silicon Valley, and I've been a glass explorer for the last 18 months. I'll explain a bit more what it means to be a glass explorer in a few minutes. I'm also the organizer of the GDG Paris. Do you know what GDGs are? Google Developer Group. Developers who work a lot with Google technologies. We do provide consulting around some of Google technologies, including Google Glass, and we do development on Google Glass. So first question, sorry. Who has never seen a pair of Google Glass before today? Okay. Who has tested already a pair of Google Glass? Only a few. Okay. And who's a developer in the room? Okay. Okay. So I will talk a bit about development also. This is the main agenda for today. I will basically describe what the Google Glass are, how they work, what we can do with them. I'll try to do demos and show you on screen what we can see with the Glass. I'll talk about the Glass Explorer program, the new version of Google Glass, a little about development on Google Glass, and then I'll give you some feedback after a year and a half as a developer and as a user of Google Glass. And I'll show you a few applications that have been released or announced already on Google Glass. Okay, first what it is. In American geeks' mind, this is what Google Glasses are. Famous character in Star Trek. I don't know if you had this one on TV in Spain. In France, it was on a very specific channel, so not everybody knows about it. But the reality is very different, actually. This was what it looked, the first prototype of Google Glass. And this is an evolution of the Google Glass prototype within Google, starting with having a simple phone or network card hooked up on the side of a pair of glass until this prototype, which is the current prototype. So this is what the regular pair of Google Glass looks like. This is actually a version 2 with a frame. I'll tell you more about it later. But basically, the point here is that if you have correction already, if you are wearing glasses, well, you can have the lens is made for you and still use Google Glass efficiently. A few technical details. There's a screen that's 640 by 360 pixel. There's a camera up front that's pointing toward you guys right now. That can take 5 megapixel pictures, record videos in 720p. It supports Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It supports video, both for playing and for encoding. Supports audio. It has 16 gig of storage, 12 of them that we can use. And it has a very flexible support, which is kind of nice because you tend to move them around a lot. So from a connectivity point of view, you either have the glass connected to the Wi-Fi or connected to your smartphone in your pocket using Bluetooth. And then you use the 3G, 4G, or 2G connection of your smartphone to get data. Yeah. A few more details. It's running Android 4.4. As a microphone, a bone conduction transducer. Who knows what that is? Okay, a few. So I'm not a specialist, but basically the idea is that there is no speaker on the Google Glass, but that the part here vibrates against your skull, and you actually hear the sound thanks to that vibration. It's a very interesting concept, and we can actually find that in hearing head more and more, where you don't really have a speaker, but just this vibration mechanism. And it has many sensors: gyroscope, accelerometer, magnetometer, proximity sensors, ambient light sensor, infrared sensor. So the fun thing about the infrared sensor is that it's actually pointing toward your eye, and there is an experimental feature. So I'm not sure it's going to work here, but did you see what I did? And did you see what happened? Basically, I winked, and it actually took a picture of you. So this is an example of things that we can do with the infrared sensor going toward your eye. How it works. So the main part of the pair of glass, let me show you on this one. This is the battery part at the back. You have all the electronic in these small parts on the side here. You have a projector and a prism in plastic in front of you, actually in front and above your eye. And the whole idea is that you keep your eyes clear, so you can see in front of you. You can drive. You can see the cars in front of you. And every once in a while, when you need it, you just look up. So if the screen is on, I look up, and I can see information, data, pictures. But I still have my view completely clear. Now, when you look at this schema explains a bit about augmented reality. The concept is that you have the reality, and you have in front of it some information that you overlap. One thing to understand is that the Google Glass are not augmented reality glasses. In order to be real augmented reality glasses, you would need to cover your eyes completely and see information on top of it. So we can still do augmented reality. It's just very limited in the view. But it's important to understand that it's not a real pair of augmented reality glasses. Seen a bit differently, here you have the camera, the projector that projects the image in the prism, and then you can look through it. Few basic steps for the glasses. The first one are the cards. When they started working with the Google Glass, of course, it looks like a smartphone that you wear on your eyes. So they try to investigate the interface part. But unfortunately, you don't have a screen that you can touch like you would do on a smartphone. So they had to come up with something completely different. And the way they did it is they created cards that they organized in what we call the timeline. The cards can be text, image, video, HTML, well, a basic subset of HTML. And they are organized as a timeline. A timeline is a bit like a movie, like, I don't know how to say that. Like a movie, you have one picture after the other. So when you scroll on the left, on the right of the glass, you can move one card up front or one card backward. So for example, if I'm on this card right here, I can swipe once, and then I will end up on this one. And if I swipe one more, I will end up on this one. And if I click on a card, for example, if I take the weather one, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but if I click on the weather one, then I end up with a new card at a lower level that shows me the expected weather for the next few days. And I can, same thing, go left and right. And when I want to go back up one level, I just swipe down. So there's a trackpad on the side here, and that's one way to control it. Everything that you've done and received goes into the timeline. So if I take a picture, it's going to show up right there in the timeline. If I want to look at things I've received, like email a week ago, then it's way further in the timeline because everything new is added up front on the timeline. And it's composed of cards. As far as control is concerned, there are 3 ways to control the glass. The first one is the trackpad, which I described already. You can click, you can swipe. You can swipe with several fingers. There is a button here that allows us to take a picture, also very simple way to take a picture. And you can also activate the glass by moving your head. So it's important to understand that the battery life is very small at this point. And they always try to save battery. So if I do something, the screen is on, and I don't do anything for 3 seconds, then the screen will just go dark. So you always have to activate the glass by tapping on the side. Another way to activate it is actually to move your head, and that also activates the glass. And then you have the menu and you can work with it. The other way to control the glass is to use voice. There are some predefined commands that you can run. For example, you can say, OK, glass, take a picture, and it's going to take a picture in front of you. In order to do that, the screen must be activated, so it must be on. So you would have to first move your head, the screen is activated, and then talk to the glass. And then you have application, the MyGlass Web and the MyGlass Mobile, that allow you to control and configure the glass. I will do a demo later and show you what happens on screen. So what can we do with Google Glass? We can take a picture. We can record a video. We can search on Google. We can request direction and get GPS navigation. We can send a message. We can call a contact. Yes, it's because it's connected in Bluetooth with your cell phone, it also acts as a regular Bluetooth earpiece. You can participate in a Hangout, so you can with this one, but officially with the latest Google Glass, you cannot because Google removed the feature. I will tell you more about that later. It will come back at some point, and there are other solutions to do video conference. But the official Hangout one, which is the Google Skype, if you want, has been removed from the Glass at this point. You can receive notifications, email, Google+, Google Now, and you can install Glassware. Glassware are applications that have been developed for Google Glass. Just a quick view of the My Glass mobile. It's particularly helpful to configure a Wi-Fi access because when you have to enter the key to access Wi-Fi, you don't have a keyboard, so it's a bit difficult. So the way you do it, you use that application, you enter the SSID, the key, it generates a QR code for you, and then you just scan the QR code with the glass. This is the web version. The thing about the web version also is that you can install some of the applications that have been selected and that are already available to Google Glass. There is around 100 of them. Most of them are like the big application, the Evernote, the Facebook, the New York Times, and so on. First example of application, the New York Times application. When you install it, what happens is that you receive during the day notification. You receive new cards in your timeline when something important happens. Then you can click on it, open it, get a voice to read the article for you, or just dismiss it. And you can receive many, you can configure how many you want, but you can receive news like that. When you receive a news, the screen doesn't turn on. You just hear a small noise in your ear, and then you are free to either activate the screen to see what's there, or to do it later because you're busy driving or doing something important. Another example is the CNN Glassware, which is the same concept. You receive a notification when something happened, but the big difference here is that you can actually click on it and start playing a video, a short video of the news itself, which is kind of nice also. Okay, let's try to do demo. So because it's running Android and it's very similar to a cellular phone, you can do a lot of what you usually do when you do Android development. Particularly, you can use ADB, which is the tool to access your Android device. Okay, so let me try this. So I can see my device here, and then I can run the Android screen monitor. So what you will see in this dark screen is exactly what I see in the Glass. The only difference is that it's slow. It's going to be a bit laggy for you. It will be a bit late. If you look me doing something, it will take a little while to show on screen. So if I activate the Glass, this is the main screen that I can see. Okay, and of course, it gives you the current time, but it also shows the string OK Glass. Every time you see OK Glass on the screen, that means you can actually give order to the Glass. So I'm going to try it. OK Glass, take a picture. And I took a picture just with voice. I actually pressed to activate the Glass, but I could just simply move my head and take picture, without touching it. So that's an example. So this is the main screen. If I move just one, I'm trying to do slowly. There you can see the latest pictures I took. This is a CNN news that I've received. I'm going to try to start it. I'm not sure how connected I am to the Wi-Fi in this room. So it's going to be very laggy for you. But you should see, yeah, so it's very, very laggy. But for me, it's very fluid. It's very, very nice. And I have the voice of the news itself. And I can keep moving. And if you look at the bottom right, you can see the time. Now 9 hours ago, 10 hours ago, and so on. So every notification, every picture I take, everything I do is being added. And the rest of the timeline just move away. One thing you can do also is you can go to what we call the future, which are cars that you always want to have access to. For example, if you have a football application to follow the score of a few games, you don't want to have to go into the timeline to find it. You want it right there, so that anytime you want to see the current score, you can see it. Same way for the weather. So, for example, this is the screen. I don't know where. Are we close to Alcorcon? Yeah? Okay. Not sure. So it thinks I'm in Alcorcon and it's giving me the weather there. Then I have the setting screens. Tells me that I'm connected, that I'm currently charging with the battery. I'm going to show you. Do you know what an Easter egg is? So Google really loves Easter eggs. So there is an option when you go to view license, something that you usually never do. You never go check out the license. And if you press, so you have to wait a bit. Okay. If I press several times on that particular screen, there's a hidden menu that shows up. And the only thing I know, the way I know there is something weird there is that the noise I hear in my ear, the pitch is actually increasing every time I tap on it, which never happened anywhere else. So I'm going to go in that menu. Do you see what's going on? Again, it's much more fluid on the screen. Basically, it's a photosphere of the, almost sphere picture of the team that worked on Google Glass. And I can actually control what I'm seeing by moving my head. And I can really go up or down and see the, yeah. So this is fun, but it's also an illustration of what we can do because we're real time controlling things. And if I start to move left or right, do you see what I mean? So anyway, that's a nice illustration of what we can do. Going back to the timeline here, so because I'm hooked up with a cable and showing you on screen, it's get a bit warm, but don't worry about that. One thing I can do if I don't want to talk, I can actually press the menu here, and then I have all the options that I can say with my voice that just show up in a screen. Actually, I could try this one. So right now, I'm starting the Explore Stars application. Instead of using my voice, I went through the menu just by using the trackpad. OK, so this is a concept a bit similar. I can move my head and get information on the stars. I don't know how it looks like on your screen, but it's actually extremely nice. And you can adjust when it's dark or not. And it detects basically where you are. So it really shows you the correct map of stars. OK. OK, let's move on. Yeah, sorry about that. For those who have, for those who saw that, I have a Mac, but I'm running Windows on my Mac. OK, let's talk a bit about the Glass Explorer program. This is very, very key because most people don't really know what it is and have a wrong understanding of what the Google Glasses are. The key point is that the Google Glass do not exist today as a product. You cannot purchase a pair of Google Glass. And I know you may have heard in the press or on TV that, yeah, you can buy it in the US. No, that's wrong. You cannot buy a final product called the Google Glass. What you can do is you can enter the program, the Glass Explorer program, which is a beta test program that comes with a pair of glass, like this one, or like this one. So originally it was targeted for developers, 2,000 developers who registered during Google I/O. Then 8,000 more people were selected to participate by tweeting or by writing on Google+ what they would do if they had a pair of Google Glass. Originally, it was only available in the US by invitation. We have access to the prototype since April 2013, and this is really a prototype. We don't know if the final product will be exactly like that or will be a bit different. We have no idea. We used to have presentation on the Google campus. We got access to what's called the Mirror API. I will talk more about that later at the beginning. Now we have also the GDK, which is the Glass development kit, a bit like Android development directly on the Glass. Now you can actually enter the program directly on the Play Store in the US, which is actually a big news. And it's also available in the UK since June 2014. But again, you don't purchase a pair of Glass. You enter a beta program. That means that you have limitation. You have, for example, you cannot prevent an update of the firmware. And sometimes you get updates when you don't want, like for example, in the middle of a presentation. During an update, Google can add and remove features. And I mentioned Hangout earlier. Some people entered the program in April. You could make video conference. Well, since then, you can't anymore because Google removed it. There are a lot of technical reasons. I won't get in detail. But the point is, you would not have that on a real product. You can I say, you have to cope with limitation changes because you are testing a prototype. So it's very important to understand that. This is what the box looks like. Five colors originally. Version 2 of the Glass, you can actually attach frame. You have a pair of headphones that you can plug because in noisy environment, the bone system is not that good yet. It will improve, of course. You can get prescription glasses, again, on the pair of Google Glass. Newer CPU. One thing interesting for us is that there is a CE mark on the Glass that was not on the original pair, which kind of soon like it's going to come to Europe, to the real Europe, outside of UK, anytime soon. You can also buy the frame themselves, which are very, very light, and you have even a version made by a famous designer in the US. And you have more memory in the latest version, which also makes it easier to use and more comfortable for application. But when you look at them, V1, V2, they really look the same. Sorry, just checking time. So this is the view with the frame, but again, you can see them in real right now. Programming for Glass. Let's talk a bit about programming for Glass. There are 3 ways to do programming on Google Glass. The first one is what's called the Mirror API. You program server-side. So you don't do anything on the Glass itself. You do your programming server-side. That was the original way to do programming on Google Glass. You could use Go, Java, Python, and so on. You have a starter project to help you get started. The next one, which is more interesting, is the GDK. It's basically Android programming in Java that runs directly on the device, exactly like what you would do on a smartphone. The third way is called WearScript. It's a JavaScript for wearables created by Brendan White, a guy in the US who's a big hacker for all wearables, that allows to do quick and easy prototyping of application directly on the Glass, but it also supports Android Wear, the Pebble Watch, the Mayo, a lot of different wearable devices. The playground is part of the web page of the website that allows you to design screen and see how it would look on the Google Glass. So Mirror API versus GDK, which are the 2 official ways to do the programming. With the Mirror API, you're platform independent. Again, you can use any programming language you want. You rely on the common infrastructure, and you have access to some of the built-in functionalities. For the GDK, you can do real-time user interaction. Again, getting sensors data live and handle them. You can work without being connected on a network, which would not be possible with the Mirror API. And you have access to the hardware. OK, so just a bit introduction on the Mirror API. The idea is that you have your pair of Glass. You have the Mirror API itself, which is a set of server at Google with synchronization between your pair of Glass and the server. and then you use REST exchanges, JSON data with your own application running somewhere. So you don't connect directly to the glass. You connect to the Google server, and the Google server connect to the glass. Also, it's RESTful services, no need to execute code on the glass. You need to have authentication using OAuth 2.0. So I don't know who in the room has ever tried to do OAuth 2.0 from scratch. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So Google gives you some source code and some information to help you with that, which is very, very nice. And you have started projects in various languages. So just a quick view of how you would do it in Java. For example, if you want to insert a card containing text in your timeline, this is an extract from a servlet. You have a few calls that you make, but where Google handles everything for you. And basically here what I'm doing is I'm creating a timeline item. I'm specifying some text. I'm specifying a type of notification, which is the type of noise I will get when the card gets inserted in my timeline. I use the mirror builder to prepare everything. And finally, I do an insert on the timeline. And by just doing that on my own server, the information will be sent to the Google server, and then will end up on my glass. OK, let's talk about GDK. Glass Development Kit, it allows you to develop in your Android environment. And if you have looked at the latest version of Android Studio, you can now specify Glassware as a type of project when you get started. The first version of the GDK, the first sneak peek was released in November 2013. It was very early. Now it's based on Android 4.4. So basically, it's the Android SDK plus an add-on for glass-specific features. But the whole principle, the principles that you follow when doing Android development with activities, with intent, and so on, exactly the same. And you can even develop with the NDK for a low-level application. What you can do with the GDK part, you can create cards, you can provide access to the sensor, you can display the preview stream of the camera, and potentially do things with it. So basically, in your screen, you can see the same thing that you're actually seeing and that the camera is seeing, but you can add information on top of it. And you can add information real time. And that's how you would do augmented reality, for example. You can capture pictures, video, voice. You can handle the trackpad directly. You can display full screen. So there are games, for example, where you want to be completely full screen. And you get full access to the network, which is very nice. You can open your sockets. You can do HTTP requests. All the things that you're used to do on your Android device, you can do it on your glass. And that's very important because most of the applications we develop, you actually have an application on the glass and you have a backend somewhere and you communicate with that backend. Every time you want to do complex calculation, for example, or process data like image recognition and so on, it's probably easier to do it on the server side. Simple example of how to use the GDK. With a standard card that has a main text, a footer, and one or several images, you just call the card builder, and you do a set text, set footnote, set timestamp, add your image, and get view. And when you've received actually a view in the an Android view. So you can do anything you usually do in Android view, which is, again, very, very simple for Android developers. Now, one thing to understand is that there are things that we do on Android that if we do them the same way on glass, it won't work. It's usually a matter of a few flags to adjust or a few things to initialize. So it's not fully compatible, I would say. Last one, WhereScript. You can install WhereScript just by executing this one line on a Linux machine, for example. And what it does is that you, in your HTML page, you can call JavaScript methods. For example, you can say log to log in information. You can use say, and the voice will actually translate, say out loud what you had in your string. You can play sound. But there's one example here which use the sensor. And what these 3 lines of JavaScript does is it's actually requesting data from the direction sensor, from the orientation sensor. And it's actually filling the screen with a color that is based on the direction that you're looking at. And basically, when you run that on your glass, if you move your head to the left or to the right, the full color of the background of the screen will change. And what's interesting is that it requires 3 lines, and actually you could put everything on one line of JavaScript. To do the same thing in Java, you need 40 lines of Java plus all the files and all the folders and all the configuration you have to do for Android application. So again, during hackathons, for example, this is very convenient and very easy to prototype things. A few guidelines for developer. Design for glass, always test for glass. That comes officially from Google, and the main inconvenience is that there is no good emulator for Google Glass at this point. So you can't really do real development without a pair of glass. Hopefully that will change. Hopefully soon the public version will be available. That's a question that I'm always asked. We don't know when it will be released. The last that we've heard was first half of 2015. Avoid unexpected. You don't want things to disturb the person wearing the glass. You don't want the screen to turn on with a picture, for example, without the user wanting it, because he may be doing something else. The best contrast is white text on dark background. There are templates that you can use. Again, always start with the templates and then make them evolve based on your needs. You can test it with the playground. And if you want to display text, just send all the text and it will be split automatically in several cards. So you can't put too much text on screen, but you can easily scroll to the next part of the text with the glass. Okay, now let's talk about feedback after a year and a half. So my first point is that it's a very interesting concept with a lot of potential. There are a lot of limitations in what we can do today. We don't have access to a real store of application, et cetera, but there is a lot of potential, and there are a lot of developers today writing application for the Google Glass. And when you think about smart glass in general, there are other products. You may have heard of the Epson smart glasses. You may have heard of some of the smart startups doing smart glasses like Optinvent, like Laster. There are, again, quite a few pair of smart glasses. Samsung officially is also working on one. But the big difference and big advantage that Google has today is that they have several thousand of developers writing application right now. And the goal is that when they will release the final product, you will have from day one access to a store with several thousand applications. And that will make a big difference. Look man, no hands. That's one of the nice things, is that there are a lot of things that you can do just wearing the glass, talking to them, scanning with the camera, etc., and while doing something else. And I'll show that in the scenario at the end. The prototype is very light and comfortable. It's really, really light. And you just forget about it. I have the cable right now because I'm hooked up, but without the cable, it's really very light. You can keep your normal field of vision intact, which is also interesting. One of the nice things that you can do with glass is take pictures of a baby. I don't know if you've ever tried to take pictures of a baby, but the baby always tries to grab the camera or just look somewhere else. But when you wear glasses, especially like this one without the frame, you can keep eye contact with the baby. So if you're the mother, usually it's very easy. You talk to the baby, looks at you right in the eyes, and you're taking pictures. And you get very, very nice pictures. There are several ways to develop application, as I mentioned. Several thousand of developers writing application for it. We get new features with updates. It's also nice. I mentioned that they removed some features, but they also added many since the very beginning. We can support prescription glasses, which was not the case originally. So again, that's a good news. Now, on the bad side, the prototype officially is only for American and British Explorer for now. Oops, I have a, sorry. The battery doesn't last long enough. That's clearly an issue with the Google Glass today. They're working on it. They're working on improving the software. So I'm always asked, because I'm wearing also Android Wear glasses, the Moto 360. I'm always asked what I think about the battery life of the watches versus the battery life of the glass. So for the glass, it's very easy, like you would do with a mobile, to have a cable and have a small battery pack in your pocket, during the day when you really don't have battery anymore. It's not very convenient, but it's doable. For the watch, it's a bit more difficult. But one thing for me is that I'm okay to remove my glass every night and put them and charge them every night, put them on my desk while I sleep, because I don't sleep with glasses. But I'm the kind of person who actually sleep with his watch and even goes in the shower with the watch. So not this one, because that probably wouldn't work well. But and so that's a key issue with smartwatches today, and that's actually one of the unofficial reasons why you hear a lot about an Apple Watch, but you still haven't seen any anywhere, and you don't even know when it will be released. It's also mainly a battery issue. If the battery of your watch doesn't last the full day, you're in trouble. So for the glass, that's the case right now. It doesn't last a full day. There are ways to go around it. If you do video, after 3 hours, it's just empty. So you don't want to do that. But that's clearly a problem, and we hope that they're working on improving that. It's difficult to hear in noisy environment, as I mentioned, so you can use the earpiece, especially when you are running, for example, or when you're outdoor cycling and running an application that takes a picture every 30 seconds to do a time lapse, which can be very nice. But if you're listening to your music, you may want to put the earpiece. The front-facing camera right here makes some people uncomfortable. That's very interesting. There's been some complaint about that have been then taken by journalists, and it seems like it's the biggest issue with the glass. That's not, and just journalists have been repeating about that issue. But the fact is that some people are uncomfortable because there's a camera facing them. So one of the things that we've proposed to Google as part of the feedback is to put a simple cache in front of it that you can slide in front of the camera or not. And like when you go in a restaurant, just put the cache on it, and then the perception that people get would not be as bad. Of course, it's bullshit, because anybody can take a picture of you with his cell phone, and you can buy $80, how do you call that? Farce à trappe. I don't know how to say that. Joke kind of when you want to make jokes, where basically you can just wear glasses with a small camera and a SD card at the back, and you can actually take pictures and nobody notices it. But again, the perception is very important. The French accent is not always recognized. I swear. There is no easy way to secure the glass when you walk in a public area. It's actually it costs $1,600 for the prototype for the entering the program. So you don't want someone to just grab them when you're in the subway or in the street. But there's no easy way to strap them. So that's also something that needs to fix. There is no way to prevent updates. And that can be scary because, again, it can happen at any point in time. It can remove some of the features. And as a developer, because we're still part of this beta testing phase, they can break the API. And they've done that a lot until April, May. It's much more stable right now. But you write application, you want to test them, you go to see a customer, you make a presentation, you want to show the application, and then you got an update in the morning, and the API just is broken. That's bad, and there is no way to prevent it. So actually, there is a way. You have to hack the glass, root them, put an old firmware, and that's what I did on this one. So I know now that I won't get any update on this pair of glass, and I should be able to use them for demo if needed. Not yet available to the public. I think I made it clear. One weird thing is when it's plugged in the glass, sorry, the glass turn on their own, which is very counterintuitive. When you plug your cell phone to charge, if it's off, it stays off. For the glass, it will turn on. So if you plug them in the evening and in the morning, you want to turn the glass on, you're actually turning them off. So you have to cope with a few things like that. And the updates sometimes remove features. Okay, let's talk about use cases. Facial recognition is one of the first things that comes to mind. You're looking at someone, it's real time, analyzing who the person is, and it tells you, well, you've met that person 6 months ago, and this is his name. Usually you don't remember the name. So that could be very nice, except that Google doesn't want it for now. We're not really clear about why. There are two commonly accepted reasons. The first one is legal reason. The second one is that Google recognizes there is a lot of money to make with facial recognition on the glass, and they don't want to be. They want to be in advance. But that's again. I forgot to mention. I don't work for Google. I'm a glass explorer. I have my own company, but I don't work for Google. Secondary screen. When you're watching TV, for example, getting information, getting tweets, getting things that complement what you're watching on TV, or for gaming, getting maps, getting details from people in your team, checklist of things that you have to do, all that on the secondary screen. Again, your view is fine, and when you want, you can look up and you can actually check item on the list. Recording places, people with comments. You're seeing, I don't know, some old monastery in Madrid and take a picture and oh, yeah, I was there on this day. And then remember them, so everything about traveling could be nice. Access to medical file during surgery. This is also something that's been discussed a lot because this is really one of the first usage by doctors of Google Glass and smart glasses. The fact that they don't have to, they add them directly on their head. They don't have to look at an iPad on the side or ask someone to check, and they can do it without their hands. And usually they have to keep their hands clean, so it's very important. QR code and ad scanning to get more detail about a product or to compare price. You're in a shop, in a store, and you want to see the price of the product very easily, very quickly. You can have applications that help you do that. So yes, you could do it with a cell phone today. But if you do it with a cell phone, you have to hold the cell phone, you have to do a few things. All that you could do almost automatically with the glass. Controlling moving devices. One of the fun scenarios I like is controlling drones, where basically you move your head on the left or on the right, and the drone actually goes left and right. And if you have good connection, you can even see on the screen the video of what the drone is seeing. This is, of course, just an example, but it can give you ideas of what we can do. See your notes while you're making presentation. It can sound weird, but could be helpful. Oh, yeah, direct view training. This is big and getting really, really big. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're watching a cooking show on TV. You're seeing the person doing cooking, and you hear the explanation. Well, it's more efficient to actually hear the explanation and see through the eyes of the cook what she's doing. And then you can even play it afterwards. So when you're at home and doing it yourself, you can have the video and see, compare, oh yeah, it looks the same color, maybe good, or maybe I put too much spice, or. So this is really getting big also in various areas. Augmented reality, as I mentioned, is partial, but you can still do a lot of nice things with the glass. Finally, let's talk about a few examples of application available today on glass to give you ideas of what we can do. Shazam Glass is like Shazam on glass. Instead of doing a search on Google by asking a question, because yes, the way you do a search on Google, you ask a question. Okay, glass, Google, and then you say, what time is it? And then it try to find the result and shows you the first results. And you can do the same with music to detect the music around you. This is the CEO of Parrot. I don't know if you know Parrot. It's a French company that developed one of the first consumer-oriented drone, the AR drone, that's the one. And during an hackathon, he's controlling it by moving his head wearing glasses. And it was the first time it was done. This is an application for baseball. Americans love baseball, and they love statistics, much more than in football or rugby. And the application detects where you are when you start it, detects what the stadium is nearby and to know which game is running on. And then it's showing you on screen a lot of statistics and information about the game. So as a football and rugby fan, I'd like to be able to replay the goal, replay what happened that I missed, and so on, get some additional information. And there are applications being developed for that. This was the first case where a surgeon in the US was operating on someone and was streaming through the glass to his student in a room nearby so that the student could actually follow the whole operation through the eyes of the doctor. And when you think about it, it's just amazing. And you can even go to scenario where you have, for example, in the middle of Africa, a local doctor that has to perform specific operation where he doesn't have a lot of experience. He can have someone else in Europe following the operation and giving him tips and information as long as he's doing the operation. Again, those are examples, but when you think about it, there's a lot of possibilities. This was the official commentator for the Super Bowl final that gave an experience to the crowd and to the people in front of their TV very different, because you could just go anywhere and look with the glass and ask questions, and very different experience. This is at school, a teacher preparing a TP, I don't know, a demo basically mixing chemistry, where she's recording the whole thing and she's giving the explanation. So even the students that are sick, that were not there at the time, they could actually see the whole thing on TV later on. And she can actually do things without using her hands because the camera are on her head. One thing I forgot to say, yeah, for this example, of course we could, instead of having glasses, we could have put a GoPro on the head of the doctor, but it would not have been as convenient as just the light pair of Google Glass. This is an example of application that convert physical activities into games. It's how to bring fun to physical activities. So, of course, you will get all your stats that you get usually with small sensors like that, like calories burned and so on. But you can also race against yourself from the last few days, race against what your friends did, get bonus points when you go to specific location, or even have zombie run after you if you're too slow. So that motivation when you do physical activities. This one is interesting also. It's a prototype where when you're falling asleep in your car, basically you will start to doze like this. Thanks to the captors and the real time, we can actually make noise and turn on the screen so that you wake up and you realize, well, it's probably time to park and stop driving. You would not be able to do that with a smartphone in your pocket because sensors just would not move. It's in your pocket. But because you're wearing it on your head, it's doable. This was a test done by Virgin Atlantic a few months ago to facilitate boarding in planes using Google Glass by scanning the ticket, having verification of who the person is who's boarding the plane compared to the person who actually left the suitcase and things like that. We don't have the results yet, actually. And this was the first official life saved thanks to Google Glass. Basically, in that hospital in the US, they were running a small program where doctors could access medical file for patients. And one day, this lady, she was rushed into emergency because she had something near her brain, a blood-related issue that was very, very bad. It could have killed her very quickly. And she was allergic to one of the substances that you can give to fight that. And thanks to the program, he was able to know which substance she was allergic to and give her something else, and she was saved. So it's an American story. It's probably a bit, but it's a nice experience about what happened. And now even nurses in that hospital wear glasses, and they are developing additional application for that. I think no explanation needed. It could be the other way around, by the way. Huh? Okay, if you want to know more, developers.google.com/glass, glasscommunity.com. On Twitter, I'm running an account called Glassfriends, where I review a lot of things that are going on, application and so on Glass. And you can contact me directly. Thank you. So I know we're running a bit out of time, but for those who want, I can take a few questions if you want. Yes?
How much of your visual field does the screen on the glasses fill?
Very little, because it's above. It's again your eyesight is just.
I mean when you look up.
Yeah.
That's only a little.
Well, usually when I look up, I only want to look at the glass, at the prism, and the feeling that you get is that you're watching a 40 inches TV 3 or 4 meters from you, which is very nice because it means when you switch from virtual to real, you don't have to focus. So it doesn't give you any special, it doesn't make you tired like you would if it was very close. Like you think you're looking close to your eye, so it's going to be, you're going to be tired. Your eye is going to be tired, but that's not the case. Yes? You mean for this one?
Yes.
Like if I put this, I get used to it very quickly. Honestly, of course there is an additional layer of glass before the prism, so you lose something, but not that much. Yes?
I agree with you that
So, okay, what you need to understand is that the only thing that Google could have rejected, except for facial recognition, where they said we don't want that now, is that they would not have selected them to be on the MyGlass website that contains the 100 applications that I showed earlier, Evernote, Facebook, and so on. But I would say we don't care at this point, because what we want is to be on the store when the official public version will be released. And actually, the process of getting registered on MyGlass is painful. You have a lot of paperwork to fill. You have a lot of design things to follow, design guidelines. You don't have the freedom that you have when you do purely Android application for mobile. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It doesn't bring you much to be on MyGlass today. It will be important for you to be on the official store when the product will be released to the public. Yes? Interesting question. So until recently, you were very limited. You can do much more now. You can even integrate it directly inside your application. Can you what? Can you set? Sorry. Search. You can do search. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time to hear you. Oh yes, you can send picture. Of course, yeah. Oh yeah, that's one of the basic things. You share them.
No, search.
But how do you want to describe what you're searching?
Your timeline.
Yeah.
I say 3rd of November, pictures, and show me 20 pictures.
So you probably could write an application to do it. That's not one of the basic features right now. But when you do a search, you have to give explanation of what you're searching for. So what you can do is, search house in my pictures, and then you have to analyze all the pictures and try to figure out if it's a house or not. But there is a lot more involved than just the voice command for that.
But searching by date would be easy.
Yes, could be. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Searching by date could be much more easier. It's not part of what's available today as a basic feature, but it's very easy to write an application to do that. And it probably already exists, but we don't have access to it yet because we don't have access to a real store with all the application being developed. Yes?
Is there a model of glass with the screen on the left side? Because, for example, I cannot see with my right hand.
Yeah. So I've never seen it, and I've been asked about that. Again, we are in this beta program right now, so that was not their objective. But I'm pretty sure that when the final product will be released, there will be one that will be on the other side. For evident limitation during the beta phases and the price, it's only on the right side. But I've seen people actually turn them around and do some hardware hacking for that. But you also have to do some software hacking because you have to invert some of the way the sensors work to do that. So, but I'm pretty sure eventually it will be. Yes?
Why did they remove the Hangouts?
Okay, very good question. So they removed the Hangouts because originally the Glass were running on Android 4.0, and they were in April, May, they actually moved to 4.4, and moving to 4.4 broke a lot of things in the internal of the Google Glass libraries, and they said that the part of Angad, the Angad we were using was based on 4.0. They couldn't use the official Angad for 4.4 on the Glass at this time, but they also gave us some weird explanation like nobody is using it, so we don't think it's useful, or I mean, clearly that that was not true. But since the very beginning, since April 2013, when we got the first version, Hangout have been in and out. So for a few months you had Hangout, then you had not Hangout anymore, then you had Hangout again. One of the issues with the current prototype is that when you're encoding video in real time, it gets warm. Exactly like when I'm streaming it on screen, it gets a bit too warm. The prototype is based on hardware from a few years ago already. Newer version may not have that problem, and then they will probably put it back. But there are other companies already that have done video conferencing apps to replace Hangout. So, but hopefully we'll be back because it was nice. Yes.
I think the user experience is
say, go back to the first picture I took or something like that.
So if it's only the picture that you care about,
No, it's not only picture. I mean, for example, a card that I know I had 2 years ago.
okay, so you won't be able to access it. After 10 days, roughly 10 days, they disappear for good. You can't go back in the timeline.
Even on the server side?
Even on the server side, because we're talking about any type of card. But if it's a picture you took 2 years ago, yes, you can access your picture as part of, because the picture is still on the glass. But the fact that there was a news 6 months ago that someone got elected mayor or something, usually you don't care anymore about it and they just disappear. You don't keep a full track of all the cards.
Okay, can you delete cards?
You can delete cards. You usually don't because you let them vanish at the back.
Maybe you see, I don't know, whatever video from CNN and you just want to delete it because you don't. So
No, but you don't have it. The only thing you have is a card that represents the news from CNN.
I mean, delete the card. Of
Oh
course.
yeah, you can. You can delete. Well, some of them you can. Some of them I'm not sure because I don't do it. Again, we let them vanish.
Okay. And what about the fast forward in the video, for example?
You,
Can do that?
so it's not part of the basic UI. So if you write your own application, you can browse the timeline with your own application, your own control, and someone could come up with a very nice idea, or saying like next 50, next 20, next 10. That's doable,
Basic function, right?
but that's not part of the basic function. But one thing though, I didn't show you, but if I move quickly, the timeline goes in the background, and it moves much faster. So I don't have to go one by one. I go one by one if I do this, but if I do fast, if I move fast,
Yeah, you probably go past the one you want if you do that.
that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any prevision about when the glasses will be available for everybody as a product?
So nothing official. What we've heard is first half of 2015, but nothing official from Google. And there's been some discussion recently. You may have heard about it. Sergey used to go to every event wearing glasses, and he went to one event without wearing it. So some people started to say, "Oh, Google Glass are dead because Sergey don't go to party with his glasses anymore." Don't worry about that. Yes.
Two short things. One is, you mentioned something about infrared,
Yes.
and the second thing is there any way that has been planned to control actually the Google Glass through the mobile itself? Because it might be a little bit handier to control it from your pocket with something on your phone rather than doing it.
Yeah, I fully agree. So the first one, yes, infrared sensor, it goes toward your eye, and that's what I used when I took a picture by just winking, if you remember. And for the control itself, you can already use the My Glass application on your mobile that does some stuff on your glass. It's very limited, but this is a subject that comes very often. And for example, there is you know the Mayo? Do you know what the Mayo is? The thing that analyzes the way you move your hand. And for example, there are prototypes already that when you do this, you actually swipe cards. There's one with a ring, also I forgot the name of the ring, where you can actually, on the ring, without showing anything, you're controlling your glasses by doing stuff. There are a lot of prototypes around that. Most of them use either Bluetooth LE for the communication with the glass, or go through the mobile with the My Glass app. So talk to the My Glass app to do that. It's not completely open yet, but Google wants you to hack it. They want you to do things like that and come up with new things. So they don't hide much. Any more questions? Yes?
Are you aware of any health risk considering you have a device with several sensors and so close to our brain?
So yeah, that's a very frequent question. I'm not aware of any specific risk. I know at the beginning there were studies made that said basically it was not very dangerous. What I've always heard was that it's more dangerous to spend 3-4 hours per day with your cell phone here and in communication than anything else. So I'm not a specialist. I haven't heard of anything. It's been a year and a half. I'm sick today a bit, but I don't think it's related.